This little young boy, Samson, is a walking miracle, a 6-year-old who survived the impossible. Etienne is his father, and Janvier is his mother. One morning, just like any other day, these parents woke up and were getting ready for work when something unexpected occurred. It made them lose hope for their child's life. The child experienced a severe accident that took the biggest part of his head.
Ngezeyo mbona umwana yaguye hepfo ahantu hari mu murima, mbona niruka njya kumuramira nsanga umwana yumye ngo yari yamaze kugagara yaguye muri koma.
While I was working on this story, I felt sad and scared. It's frightening to see how one side of this child's head appears to be soft, and upon closer look, you can even see his brain beating. For a child who is frequently around others, where something could accidentally hit his head, it is a very serious issue because there is no bone protecting this side of his head. What really happened to this child? Is this child completely recovered? If his head remains like this, would it cause any other problems? This family is ready to share all this with us. My name is Etienne. I'm Samson's dad. My son had an accident while he was playing with other kids. One morning, I was serving breakfast to him and his sister. I remember that they said, "Thank you, Dad," and went outside to play with other children. After a short time, their friends came to inform me that my son had fallen from a cliff. I hurried to the scene and found the child lying on the ground, not moving. Just like any parent, it's natural to feel frightened. In this situation, there was no other choice but to rush him to the hospital because they couldn't determine what was wrong with the child on their own. But before they took him to the hospital, they began to see signs that the child had a very serious problem that could even take his life. Her name is Janvier. She is Samson's mother.
I left my workplace and found the child in a very critical condition. I hurried to get him ready to go to the hospital, but as I dressed him, he started vomiting 3 times. This made us extremely frightened because it seemed to be the last sign that he could die. We splashed water on him, and that's when he was able to speak. He said just one word: headache.
They rushed to the closest hospital, but they couldn't provide the necessary help for the child because his condition was very serious. So, they transferred him to the biggest hospital. By this time, the child had fallen into a coma, a deep sleep from which he couldn't wake up. His condition had worsened so much that the medical machines were indicating that the child might not make it. It was a really critical situation, and the doctors needed to get the final approval from the parents to perform a life-saving operation. To get the operation done, we had to sign some papers because the doctor's reports indicated a challenging situation. They explained that there was bleeding into the brain and that the back of his head had ruptured. The doctors told us that, for the sake of saving his life, there was no other option. They said that with God's help, there might be a chance for him to survive. So they asked us to sign off on the procedures, which included giving him a blood transfusion and other necessary treatments, and we agreed. During this time, we were just waiting, but we had very little hope. In fact, I had already come to terms with the idea that he might not make it, and I had started making preparations for a possible burial. It's completely understandable for any parent to have such thoughts, but when God decides something, it's beyond anyone's control. Even though this child had reached a point where it seemed he might not survive, there was an unseen glimmer of hope. This time, the child was placed in a special ward where the sickest patients received more attention. Treatment began, and his parents anxiously waited for days, hoping their child would recover. Thankfully, the doctors were able to help the child, and he started getting better. However, it wasn't time for him to go home yet because he still needed medical care. But at least he was no longer in critical condition. He had to stay at the hospital to continue treatment.
ajya muri serivisi ya pediatri.
They took him back to the pediatric department for children, where they continued to look after him. After a few days, the hospital discharged us due to the large number of patients, as the doctors saw signs of hope, and they continued to monitor the child daily. However, it was quite challenging because I hadn't covered the expenses for all the treatments from the very first day we entered the hospital, and I was uncertain about the total cost. They handed me a bill for a substantial amount of money that I couldn't afford, so I had to turn to my friends and family for assistance. With their help, I was able to gather some money, and I made an agreement with the hospital that I would pay the rest in installments. We came to an agreement, and as a result, they released me, and I could finally return home. It seemed that he still required medical attention, and it appeared as though the treatment he needed was not yet complete. After we reached an agreement, I continued to visit the hospital as the child needed ongoing monitoring. The doctor assured me that the child's mental condition had been restored near 100%, although there were still issues with his vision and the absence of the bone at the back of his head, which is the problem we are left with today because it was the last treatment for the child that was supposed to be delivered. The doctors explained that there was a plastic bone we needed to purchase and have implanted on his head. Unfortunately, due to our financial problems, we had to put this on hold, and we're now patiently waiting for an opportunity to gather the necessary funds for the child's terminal care. A shortage of funds keeps endangering the child's life. The time given to address the child's last chance for treatment becomes less frequent due to financial problems. The only option presented was to take time to gather the necessary funds for the child's final operation. This ongoing situation has a significant impact on the child, and the unprotected part of his head remains a concern. Even a minor accident could potentially place the family in a serious predicament once more.
At times, he seems perfectly okay, but there are moments when you notice changes, both in his interactions at home and in school. Sometimes you can discuss something with him, and then he quickly alters everything, which wasn't a common occurrence in the past. However, we hold hope that with complete treatment, he will return to being a stable and consistent child.
Birababaje kuba uri umubyeyi ukaba wagiye kwa muganga uvuga uti man.
It's painful being a parent. You go to the hospital, praying to God to save your child, and then you're given the opportunity to see your child again. However, it's heartbreaking because even though you have your child back, you feel helpless to protect him. I'm deeply pained by my inability to assist my child, and I'm constantly worried about his safety when he's at school with other children. For instance, another student could accidentally hit him on the head, or he might fall down and put us back in the same dire situation we faced before. Today, this family is deeply concerned about their child's life. They are in a difficult financial situation because not only taking their child to the final operation, but they also have other financial obligations that remain unpaid at the hospital. This is a unique and challenging issue, one that every parent and empathetic individual should comprehend the gravity of. This family now needs to reach out to charities and kind-hearted people for assistance, as they are going through this time of hardship and worry. Dear viewers, I find myself in a challenging situation where I hold the life of a child in my hands, but I am facing a problem due to limited resources to ensure his full recovery and well-being. This situation deeply concerns me, and I am very worried. I kindly request assistance from anyone who can offer help to bring my child to the hospital. The way things stand now, there's a risk that we could return to a dire situation or even lose his life. Your support would be greatly appreciated.
icyo numva nasaba
I, as his mother, would like to ask the charity to help us find the ability to buy that plastic bone so that his head can be restored to life.
If you wish to save the life of this child, you can help this family through He is a child who deserves the best like others, and he deserves to learn and grow up to become an extraordinary person. But this is not possible when his heat is like this. He is a smart child, but the life he is in today is very likely that he does not have long to live. His father and mother are not able to do it alone, but together with this family. What can we change this status? We can be the light for him. We can provide a chance of the opportunity to see a better future. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and turn on the notification to never miss any of our stories.